In the mid-2000s, the television landscape was brimming with opportunity. The Sopranos were constantly delivering its brand of violence as well as non-stop action. Gilmore Girls was firmly in the middle of a near decade-long run of dramatic pauses and familial tension, and Scrubs was just still being Scrubs, but new shows had started taking viewers down a different path than the shows of the 90s. The loosely strung near episodic plot lines of 90s sitcoms were replaced with tightly packed plot lines that required viewers to watch every episode in order to keep up. Instead of stressing about who was dating who and if Ross and Rachel will end up together, viewers started thinking about who or what is inside that hatch and wondering if Big Pussy is the real rat and not Jimmy. Showrunners were given the freedom and support from networks to explore ideas that had been previously deemed irrelevant or unpopular, and this new age of television gave way to dozens of critically acclaimed drama series that captivated audiences for nearly a decade, if not longer. For decades, sitcoms and game shows had dominated the rankings, giving off the perception that dramatic television just wasn't worth the hassle. This started changing in the early 2000s as dramas like The Sopranos and West Wing had started to hold their own and garner respect from networks. Halfway through this decade, 5 shows would come out in the same year that would cement the genre of drama as one of the most important and most profitable genres in all of television. That year was 2005. This year, viewers were treated to not 1, not 2, but 5 brand new dramas that took home top 20 national ratings that year. Seeing 5 shows premiere to top 20 ratings in a single year is an exceedingly rare occurrence. I mean, I've looked through every year that the Nielsen Company has tracked TV ratings, and this has only happened on 3 separate occasions: 1955, 1958, and 1979. This means that for the first time in 25 years, television saw its largest influx of new blood into its decrepit old veins. Being only the 4th time in history this has been done in a single year isn't even the most astonishing part of it all, because for the first and only time in television history, a single genre accomplished the feat. Every other time 5 shows debuted to top 20 rankings consisted of a combination of different genres, but in the year 2005, all 5 of the new shows were dramas. This number could be 6 if I chose to count Desperate Housewives, which also landed inside the top 10 in the year 2005, but Desperate Housewives is classified as a dramedy, with the official express genre being comedy drama instead of just a straight up drama. Because of this slight difference, I'm going to be leaving them out of this video. It's completely arbitrary, and I'm sorry if that upsets you, but that's just how we're going to do things. The 5 dramas from 2005 were ranked as follows: Grey's Anatomy, Lost, House, Medium, and Boston Legal. These 5 shows were the beginning of a new era of dramatic television and would shoulder the weight of being their respective networks' best shows for years to come. Some shows were able to carry this weight with grace and power, while others, well, you'll see, but we'll start things off at the bottom of the list and work our way up. At 20th, we have Boston Legal. The show was a legal drama with hints of comedy thrown in. I mean, the show starred Captain Kirk as a legal partner, Denny Crane, an eccentric pre-Alzheimer's gentleman who is a senior partner at the firm. So right off the bat, you know it won't be a typical legal procedural. Boston Legal was the continuation of The Practice, a late 90s legal drama which won 2 Emmys for Outstanding Drama Series. The show had a pretty large following considering The Practice had just wrapped up an 8-season run on television. This meant that fans who didn't get enough of that style of show had another one written in the same universe by the exact same people. Because of this, it's easy to see why the show landed inside the top 10, but it's actually a little surprising that it's not higher on this list considering its pedigree. This drama would continue for another 4 seasons, ending in the year 2008. During this 5-season run on television, 2005 would be the only year in which the show made a top 20 appearance in the national rankings. There's a good reason behind the show's poor showing, and that's because Boston Legal aired on the same night in the same time slot as our highest rated drama this year, Grey's Anatomy. The competition between the two clearly favored Grey's as the show came in 15 spots above Boston Legal. This higher ranking was achieved without any help or setup from a previous show. So at the bottom of our list, we have a spin-off Legacy that didn't have to work nearly as hard as the rest of its class in order to achieve the same results. And even with this head start, the show still came in last. This setup wouldn't go great for the show, as Boston Legal has the shortest runtime on television out of any of these 5 shows, with the final season coming in 2008 after just 4 years on television and only 5 seasons. Moving up 1 or 2 spots, we see a tie between 2 of our dramas. Medium and House both debuted this season to stellar ratings. The 2 shows aired on back-to-back dates, with Medium coming out on Mondays and House holding things down on Tuesday. Medium is a show about a medium named Alison DuBois who has the ability to see the past and future through her dreams and other visions. She uses her psychic powers to assist the district attorney and other law enforcement officers in the solving of murders. The show lasted an impressive 7 seasons on air before calling it quits. They managed to average over 8 million viewers each episode over its entire run, but these numbers are a little misleading because these averages are held up by only 2 seasons. Season 1 and Season 2 of Medium spanned 38 episodes, and out of these 38 episodes, only a single one failed to attract more than 10 million viewers. And even this singularity pulled in 9.76 million viewers, barely missing the cutoff. This type of first 2 seasons would make anyone think the show is going to be a big success for the future. They should be able to build off this momentum and become more popular as time goes on. But that's just not how things work out in television land. Because the final episode of Season 2 would be the last time an episode of Medium pulled down more than 10 million viewers for over 3 seasons. In the first 38 episodes, the show managed 10 million viewers in 37 of them. In the final 92 episodes, only 2 episodes managed the same feat. Just 2 episodes in the remaining 4 seasons were ever able to reach up and break free from the irrelevance they had been cast into. The show would never again breach the top 20 shows nationally either, as the 2005 season was the highest the show would ever rank at 18th. Moving along to House, we see our first real contender for the leader of this dramatic movement. The show centers around the disabled head of the diagnostics department at Princeton Plainsboro Teaching Hospital. Dr. House is a gruff, mean, rude, self-centered, obnoxious man. I mean, the list of bad things that could be said about House is endless. But he's also an oddly caring, intensely devoted physician who will stop at nothing to cure his patient. Or prove he's right. It's never really been clear to me which one's more important to him. But he's an insightful genius who sees things in ways others could never dream of. He's able to dissect each case to determine if the patient does in fact have lupus or not. But it's not lupus. It's never lupus, except for that one time when it actually was lupus. 2 times? But House is a different beast than Medium. The show started off in similar situations, at least ratings-wise, with both landing in the 18th spot nationally. But from this season onwards, House is on a different path than Medium. Medium started to falter, immediately losing around 3 million viewers from Season 1 to Season 2. Then they continued to bleed viewers for the next 5 seasons. House would do the opposite. The first season's 18th place ranking actually ends up being the 5th highest the show ever received, meaning over the show's lifetime, 4 other seasons were able to top what they did in its debut. Over their 7 seasons, Medium was never able to even approach similar numbers to what they pulled down in their debut, but in its second season, House would make its first appearance in the top 10 rankings and wouldn't leave it for 3 years straight. The show's viewership statistics skyrocketed along with its ranking. Average viewer counts rose from 13.3 million in 2005 to 17.3 million in 2006 to as much as 19.4 million viewers on average in 2007. This meant that each episode of the 2007 season were pulling in over double the amount of viewers that Medium was that year and over 25% more viewers than Medium's peak. This really solidified which of the 2 shows had the better career. But even a character as amazing as the illustrious Dr. Gregory House couldn't fight off trends forever. After the chart-topping 3rd season of nearly 20 million average viewers, the show took a step back in Season 4, capturing 17.6 million. The remaining 4 seasons would be a massive decline, seeing the show losing over 50% of its peak viewership numbers by the final season. This 4-year decline is a stark contrast to how the show started its run on television. I mean, the pilot episode received only 36% of the viewership that the Season 1 finale managed to attract, meaning that the show went from an afterthought to center stage back to being an afterthought in just 10 years. Despite this wild ride of viewership ratings, House has clearly been the more well-received show between it and Medium. Moving on to the top 2, we have Lost coming in at 15th in the country. Lost is a show that was all about subverting people's expectations, combining science with the supernatural to create the show's mythology. Every week there was something new and mysterious on the island that left viewers suspensefully waiting to find out what it was. The show had constant flashbacks and flash-forwards woven into the present that it used to keep certain things in the dark while allowing other things to come to light in order to keep the story moving forward. This plot device worked to a T, as viewers could not stop watching the show. Every week fans tuned in order to figure out what was going on with that hatch or why John isn't in a wheelchair anymore. Lost ranked 15th nationally in its debut season, and this would be the lowest ranking the show would ever receive, as every single remaining season of Lost would rank inside the top 10 nationally, while also pulling in over 10 million average viewers. Lost never averaged less than 10 million viewers during its 6-year run on the air, and only in its debut season did the show even land outside of the top 10 national rankings. This consistency speaks for itself, as the show went out on top, unlike House. As I said, the final season of House had less than 50% of the viewers it did at its peak, but Lost decided to end things on a different note. The show decided before filming the final season to end things rather than prolong the story just to keep making more episodes. In this final season, the show went out tied for the 6th highest rated show, as well as tying for the number 1 rated drama for 2010. This is a pretty astounding legacy to leave behind, that is, until you see who they tied with in 2010. And that would be our highest rated drama from 2005, Grey's Anatomy. Grey's pulled down the 5th highest rating in 2005, making it the highest rated drama in the US that year. The show focused on the life of titular character Meredith Grey, as well as several other doctors in the hospital in Seattle. I'm not sure what to call the hospital because it's undergone several different name changes over the show's life, so I'll just call it the hospital for now. The show was the highest rated show out of the other 5 in their debut seasons, and it would not give up this title lightly, as over the rest of the 2000s, only one other drama managed a higher rating than Grey's. This happened in the year 2007 when House pulled in the 4th ranking nationally, as well as being the top rated drama that year. 2007 and 2010, when the show tied with Lost, are the only time Grey's Anatomy gave up any ground to its other 4 classmates, and the show wouldn't forget it, as Grey's Anatomy would never fall outside of the top 15 rankings at any time during its run on television, and the show is still airing new episodes this year. That's 9 years after the second longest running show out of the 5, House, wrapped up filming. Over this time, Grey's has amassed countless awards, but the really impressive thing about this show is that in its 16 years on television, it's placed inside the top 10 11 times. The show has put out 17 full seasons and is in the middle of an 18th as we speak, and well over half of these seasons have been the most popular dramatic show on television, while also being one of the most popular shows overall. In 2 different years, Grey's was the highest rated scripted show on television, meaning the only things rated higher were the NFL and American Idol. None of the other 4 shows can stake a claim to even a single season of this caliber, let alone multiple. With all of this, Grey's has firmly cemented itself as the most successful show out of the 2005 rookies, and the longevity as well as the level of excellence the show has maintained by never falling below a 13th ranking at any point in its history just solidifies this fact. The original rankings break down like this: 5th Boston Legal, 4th Medium, 3rd House, 2nd Lost, and 1st was Grey's Anatomy. After looking through the history and the runs each of these shows had on television, I'd have to say that the original rankings were pretty accurate to how things worked out. I personally might have switched Lost and House, but the statistics back up either argument, so it's really not a big issue. And after looking through all of them, it's pretty easy to see how they set the tone for the future. These shows not only held their own, but they took the rankings over, managing to push every sitcom out of the top 10 for several straight years. And that's all I've got. I was pretty surprised to see that the original rankings held up so well after everything was said and done, but if you liked this video and learned something, why don't you go ahead and hit that subscribe button so that we can be linked virtually for the rest of our lives. As always, I've been Semantics. Make sure you have a great day today, everybody.